you know you're going to do this. Why are you talking yourself out of it? You know, this is it. Why are you retreating? You know, and then you start doing the little small self reassurances, like you've never failed in the past. Why would you think that's going to happen now? There is no failure. There's only lessons. There's whatever happens, you're going to be better for this.
I like that. Say that again.
There is no failure. There's only lessons, man. I got quotes for days.
Ooh.
That's how I live my life, man. Quotes on repeat, like a projector in here.
You are now tuning in to the Roughnecks Podcast with your host, Cole Nixon. Much love.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Roughnecks Podcast. This is episode 249 or 248. I haven't decided yet. It's either going to be I got two guest episodes that I got to figure out which one I'm going to edit first. But we are back with the guest episodes. Like I said in one of the episodes prior, guest episodes it's been probably a month or two. Finally getting back into recording fully. I've had to take a little hiatus and kind of step away for a minute, but we're back with the guest episodes, and joining me today is Brandon. Brandon, welcome to the Roughnecks Podcast, man.
Thank you. I'm excited, man. This has been a rough one for us to get on the books. Rough, pun intended, right?
Yeah. But, I mean, we're actually here in I'm going to call it the Train for Freedom studio. We're not in the Roughnecks studio. We're in the Train for Freedom. Got the gym in the background. Awesome. I mean, I've been here twice now, and every time it's like I walk in and I'm like, this is just an awesome facility.
Oh, man, that's very, very gracious to hear, man. But that means a lot. Like I said, as we'll get into it later, but that means a lot considering the time frame in which we've gotten here. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. So kind of just to kick this episode off, I like to allow all my guests to kind of give a background on who they are. So kind of tell us who Brandon Freeman is.
Man, that is a loaded question. That's a good question. Let's see. Yeah, so Brandon Freeman, raised in Macedonia, Ohio. So a smaller suburb of Cleveland. So I would say about 2 hours north of where we are right now. Loved it. I mean, my parents still live there now. It's a great area. Really, I don't know. I really love the fact that as you get older, you learn like your story. Like you said, you asked that question, just like kind of who are you? And I think that when you're a kid, when you're growing up, you don't think that you're writing your story. And it's so weird to look back when you ask those questions, like, who are you? And then now I get ready to think on it, and I look back, I'm just like, wow, I was building it this whole time. But yeah, man, so born and raised Macedonia, Ohio, grew up a track athlete. So took that all the way through middle school, high school, and into college. That's where a lot of who I was kind of stems from, because I had a lot of what I would consider my most pivotal points throughout that career. And ran track at Ashland, went on to coach there while running. 4-time All-American sprinter, then went on to coach the year after I graduated. Once again, another great experience where I worked with a lot of high-level athletes, anywhere from walk-ons on the team that were learning a lot of things to now Olympians, which was, once again, a great experience. And then moved out to the Newark, Granville area, so the Central Ohio area, for work directly after college. Got to doing a lot of I guess odds and end work in the beginning. Met a lot of good people in this area, and that's kind of what led me to where we are. I mean, there's a lot of details in there, which I'm sure we'll dive into later. I'm trying to keep it kind of generalized as to, how I physically got here. But moved from Ashland to Newark, Granville area, did a lot of work, met a lot of good people, which ultimately led me to where we are now.
The question I always like to ask, you were a college athlete. I always like to ask this question because it kind of does stem or change a little bit between athletes, is what drove you to Ashland? Because I do have some younger listeners, some people who may be in the senior year of high school, junior year of high school, trying to decide, because it's not an easy decision. I was a college athlete as well, and you, as an athlete, you have multiple different schools talking to you, whether they're full offers, or they're just, D3 schools wanting you to come play for them. It's not an easy decision. So what drove you to Ashland, and what was kind of the overall factor?
Oh, that's a great question. So I actually heard about Ashland for the first time from my high school track coach. He kind of approached me one day and was like, hey, I was just basically looking at something online, and he said he'd heard about Ashland's success in track and field, and he was like, hey, have you ever considered them? And, I'm like, frankly, coach, I've never even heard of them, and like I said, we'll talk more on that later, but I let him know, hadn't, thought much about it. So that evening I went home, hopped on the computer and looked at everything I could. And we set up a visit actually to go out there. And I think that was my deciding factor. Was I got there, I met the athletes, met the coaches, and I think that I'm actually, unfortunately, a pretty indecisive person. And I'm becoming more decisive, but that was one of the most easily decided pieces I've ever had. And it was one of your biggest. I mean, you're coming from a high school to college, right? You're having your biggest change at that point in your life. And I went there, and just the one word that I use to describe Ashland is culture. Unmatched. And it's something that you can only understand if you go. Yep. It is a place like no other. I mean, it's something that, like I said, I didn't know before, but then when you go, you feel it. It's instant. There's no thinking, and it's actually something that only gets better as you went farther along.
Yes.
It's like, oh, I thought I knew what it was, but I didn't, and it was better. So that was easily the best decision ever, and it's led me to where I am now.
It started to feel like home is what I always said about Ohio Wesleyan is, maybe that freshman year you're like, I'm excited, but I'm also got that little bit of nervousness, and pretty much every freshman I've ever talked to is like they get that homesickness feeling where you want to go home. You kind of are wondering, did I make the right decision? But usually by the second semester you start to really, you get new friends, you start to fit in, per se, or you find your place. And that's one of the things that you didn't say it directly, but essentially is what I took it as, is find the place that makes you feel like home when you walk on campus. And because there was I went on a handful of different visits, and most of them I was like, yeah, their football program's good, but I don't feel like when I was at Ohio Wesleyan, every coach knew my name. Every coach taught, and it's like that kind of stuff, and it made it feel like it was home and the right place to be. Yeah,
I would say maybe like belonging. Yeah, because home's not bad, but it was like one of those things where it was like you walked in and you're just like, these are my people. Yep. Yeah, that was 100%.
But you were, like you said, a 4-time All-American, multi-time conference champion, I believe, as well. Yeah. Or not conference champion, but all conference honors and stuff like that. So what events did you do? Because I feel like I know you were a sprinter. Yeah. I feel like maybe if people look at you now and the way your fitness now was it always that way? Were you always a bigger guy in terms of the weight room, or did you? What events did you do, and has your fitness changed since then?
Great questions. Yes. So I was a sprinter. Yep. So short sprints. Okay. And then the 400, which everyone does. I don't care what you do. So the 100, 200, 4x1, and 4x4. So the 4x2 falls off in college. But yeah, so fitness-wise, always, ever since I was a kid, I would say I've been built like this my entire life. Okay. So I was about 50 pounds lighter when I was running. Yeah, so I was not, as I would say, as bulky, quote unquote, but definitely always fit. And I've always been, very genetically gifted as far as like aesthetics and like strength stuff goes. But yeah, I was always gravitated towards the weight room. So I kind of knew that I was going to get into this when I got done, because I kind of found track on accident a little bit, Really? So I'm like, I was a weight room guy that ran track, as opposed to, a track guy that just kind of liked the weight room. Yeah. So, I just kind of used track to kind of let out some of the pieces I like to do in the weight room. Just to keep the competitive nature throughout your competitive years of, high school and college. But yeah, always. And so my mom was a bodybuilder. Let's just back up. Yeah. my mom was a bodybuilder. I grew up eating brown rice, broccoli, chicken, no sauce, your standard stuff. We used to walk our food off, that's a tried and true statement in the Freeman household. It was, all right, guys, everyone done eating, let's go walk our food off, because we couldn't eat and then sit around, and I couldn't play video games. So I was always active, and my mom was always, working out or lifting, and I just kind of joined her. Okay. And then, so I was already going to genetically probably be built very similar to how I am now, but then getting started and kind of having the attachment to it early, just kind of multiplied that the whole thing. So the habits were formed early for sure.
Okay. Yeah. And it's weird how our parents almost shape us, because you see it a lot. I'm sure you even have maybe some clients where their parents are luckily the kids are in here, because it's like the parents are completely opposite. Is it what I mean, obviously you got to be very grateful to have that in your life, like being able to see, especially nowadays it's becoming really bad of, I wasn't, my parents weren't like, let's go walk our food off, but like it was like, go outside. Like I didn't spend much, like the winter months. Yeah, I spent more time probably playing video games and stuff like that. You had day off school from a snow day. Yeah, we played some video games.
Right.
But it was also, hey, let's go sledding. Hey, let's go ride our bikes around the neighborhood. And you don't see it as much anymore. What do you think maybe is like the reason for that? I have a suspicion it's because of technology in general, but
took the words out of my mouth.
Technology just kind of just takes the attention away from being able to go outside and do those things.
It's easy. It's just so easy. I feel like it was everything before was so fixed, meaning like like in order to consume content, it was on a computer or a TV.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So you had to be physically at a computer or sitting in front of a TV and gaming consoles in order to play a game. It was fixed to the wall. You know what I mean? So it was like you had to be at home at your station. We had memory cards, right? I'm not playing this game if it's not on mine, So it's now everything that you need is with you all the time. You can play a video game on your phone. You can watch videos of anything on your phone. You can, everything that you need to entertain yourself is now in your pocket. So you can go outside and sit under a tree and watch your phone. You know what I mean? So now it's just I think it's the ease of access to distracting material. It's just because I mean I'm guilty of it as well.
Part
we all
of it
are. The business. It's like my phone's always ringing from things that we're trying to advance and the business operations. But I always feel a lot freer whenever I'm like I set it down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you forget your phone at home. I'm kind of like, ooh, thank you. It's kind of a good thing.
I started doing this thing on my phone where as soon as I get home in the evenings, it actually goes on Do Not Disturb. Because also when you don't have those notifications popping up on your phone constantly, because the social media apps are really good at it. Instagram, so it's such and such just posted a story. And it's like, first off, why am I getting this notification? But then you go look, like, what'd they post? And then all of a sudden, 10 minutes later, you're still on Instagram. So they're very good at, capturing your attention and keeping it. But I think being able to, turn, and it's hard, I'm sure, and I know as well, it's hard to turn it off as a business owner, especially because you almost have to be, I wouldn't say available 24/7, but you have to be readily available most of the time.
Yeah, because it's always something. I mean, like any other business owner would say it's like you're a firefighter. I mean, you're consistently putting out fires, and then when you put them out, you're trying to find a way to not have that fire come back. So it's never a one action piece. But a little thing that I've done just literally starting a few weeks ago was I just don't even check or use my phone when I first wake up. So like I'll get up at 4:30, I'll get out of bed instantly and just act like I don't even have a phone. So that's played a huge role because it could be one of those placebo effects, but I do feel like when I start my day with less phone usage, I also use it less throughout the day. I don't know if that's because I'm like, I started this day by making my bed and doing something positive, and I don't know if I continue that or if the whole, the whole dopamine hits and stuff that, I haven't looked, a terrible amount into it. I just know that for me, me personally, it's helped a lot.
So what kind of drove you to want to do that? Because I guarantee you that 95% of the people, and I'm guilty of it, listening to this podcast, that is the first thing they do in the morning is, most people set their alarm with their phone. Yep. So when that alarm goes off, you turn it off, you open it up. And that's, I'm very guilty of that. Mine's like, I'm like, work text. Is there any work text? Am I late for work right now?
Right.
And what was kind of the intentionality behind it? And how did you get to that point? Like, was it an easy thing to do or was it kind of a struggle at first?
So that's actually a loaded question, man. But the first thing, easy, I'm going to say yes.
Okay.
Because I'm a cold turkey kind of guy.
Okay.
If I see it and I want it, I just do what's necessary to get there.
Okay.
I try not to negotiate a lot with myself on something because I think then you will find there's always more reasons to not do something than there are to do something. So I just didn't negotiate. I just okay, we'll just do it. And then we just, boom, stopped, instant. But my alarm's on my phone too, though. So I'll press the stop button and then just leave it right there on the charger, and it's just done.
Nice.
And I'll go down and
Well, I think
chug
that's
a
a
glass
big
of
thing
water.
too, is
Yeah.
the fact of leaving it on the charger, not even taking it with you, leaving
Yep,
it where it's
correct.
at, and walking away from it.
Yep, and I think maybe it makes it easier because I get up at 4:30. So
Yeah.
I mean, no one's calling me at 4:30.
At least you hope not.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Yeah. If I miss something that important that early, it's gonna be much bigger than social media.
Yeah.
But no, I think what really sparked it was just, I think, as you grow, like I think I'm currently in a big growth period of my life and of the business, just in general. But I think when you look in the mirror, or you kind of have those self-realization moments where you're like, okay, where am I at? Where do I want to be? And then when I look at where I want to be, you look at people that are there, or you think of the person, you try to embody the person that is there. You think, okay, what kind of person do I need to become to get there?
Right.
And then I start, and this is just me personally, I kind of reverse engineer it. Like, what kind of things should I not be doing? Instead of this is a tactic I use myself. Like, I try to look in the world as like negatives, right? So like, okay, if I want to be successful, I should avoid boom.
Right.
And then I do the opposite, right? I should avoid sleeping in. I should avoid too much time on social media. I should avoid, being, ill prepared for events, So then I'm like, okay, well then a successful person must get up on time. They must turn their phone off when they need to, and they must be, prepared well in advance for these things. So I start to kind of look at it that way and not make excuses, and kind of just start working that way, because I've always been a see it, do it, and regardless of what it takes, I go after it kind of thing. And I think the amount of time between your check-ins, can kind of determine at what rate you grow. But I'm trying to increase the frequency at which I self-check, and kind of self-regulate. Like, okay, Brandon, you said you weren't going to use your phone, and you used it for 5 minutes this morning.
Yeah.
Is that a long time? No, but what are we doing here? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
5's going to turn to 6, and then now we're back on the old track. So
It's just like New Year's resolutions. Everybody has them, and they last for
Correct.
what, maybe a week, maybe a month, and then usually 90% of people, they fall off of it. So I mean, it's really easy to do, and it's also the check-ins with yourself of like, all right, where are we at? Like, in keeping
100%.
yourself holding yourself accountable is the big thing. Is being able to hold yourself accountable is not as easy, because it's really easy to make excuses for yourself.
Easy.
Super easy. Everybody does it.
Yep.
But you got into coaching post-college. Was that kind of always something that you wanted to do? And if so, kind of what influenced, you wanting to be a coach?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of always, coaching, I think, is a vessel. It's kind of what this is, like Train for Freedom in general, really is. Like, fitness is kind of that same thing, because I've always had a passion for people.
Okay.
Right. So communicating with people, empowering people, and kind of showing ways that I've found have worked for me to be successful, and helping people who might be struggling with what I'm struggling with. I think the passion was always the people, and I think coaching was just the medium, like the method that I was able to kind of get to them. So like, talk to the athletes that we work with, and it's a mental game with me. I really try to get to that side, because I feel as though in the coaching world, the physical pieces are the easy part. I think people describe the best coaches that they've ever had in their lives as people that have affected them outside of the coaching experience. Like, hey, this coach makes me think twice when I go to make this decision, or this coach changed my mentality, or this coach really, set me up to do X, Y, and Z. And I feel like that those people might align with how I align. They're passionate about the people, and they use the coaching to get it out, because they also might be pretty good at knowing about a certain thing, so I think that's kind of how I got into it, is that I've always been, super helpful, and I like to learn, and I just love knowledge in general, and breaking things apart, and super detail oriented. So then whenever, people had questions, I could usually answer them, and then you hear, man, thank you so much. And you really did this. You hear that enough, and you're just like, that feels pretty good. Yeah. Let me make a career out of this. And then you find out what you're good at, and what it all has to align. Like, what's that special thing where it's like you can make money from it, you're super great at it, you love what you do, and then, you know, you can change the world, right? Or you can impact the world in a positive way. It's like when all those stars align, and that's kind of what I felt like I did when I kind of found this whole thing, you know, and that makes everything easier.
Yeah. I mean, you had in college majored in exercise science and minored in business, is that correct?
Yeah, entrepreneurship. Yeah,
entrepreneurship. That's right. So you can definitely tell too, just from I've only met you actually in person twice.
Yeah.
This is our second time, and I can tell like you have the business mind, but the exercise science mind too, like the fitness side of things, and I can tell the, you know, helping people. That like that's your overall goal. I mean,
100%.
Obviously you have a family and you need to make money, but at the end of the day, I mean, you'd probably do this for free if you didn't have to have the money. I guarantee that you're that type of person.
I appreciate that, because most of what I do now is for free. So, no, but yes, absolutely, man. I've actually said that I'm trying to get to the point to where it makes sense that I could offer free services. You know, like that is the ultimate goal. Because giving is, I mean, you're really you're giving, but you're also you're receiving, and that's a giving to yourself, really. You know, and that is the ultimate goal.
So what kind of sparked the idea for Train for Freedom? First off, I got to ask the name. Where did that come from? Because I know there's got to be some type of story behind it.
100%. 100%. Yeah. So the idea started in college. I think when I really found, I knew two things. I knew that, I mean, we mentioned it, but I knew I wanted to help people at a large scale. And I knew that I didn't want to work for anybody. Yeah. Because not in the sense of, like in some negative way, but in the I'm particular, and I like to do things a certain way, and I was really passionate about doing it my way because I had an idea that I wanted to see come to life, you know, and I didn't want that to get muddied by outside forces, you know. And then if I were to kind of fall into the path of someone that aligned with mine, then perfect, that's awesome, you know. But if not, then I could just better myself, you know. Right. But naming took a little while, not gonna lie, and it was something that I kind of wrote down years ago and left it, and then I was like, no, I'm kind of liking this. It's unique. But it started when I noticed that I got more from sports or athletics or track or lifting and training from a life lesson and discipline and just kind of overall life trajectory standpoint than I did like athletic advancement from the training. You know, like I can go into a training session with something on my mind, right? You got a bad test or a breakup or something's going on in your family, just anything that's heavy on you, and I was free for those 2 or 3 hours of practice, you know, and I would come out feeling like a warrior, meaning like you're in the same body, you're in the same world, everything's the same. The only thing that happened was you went and pushed yourself mentally and physically for the past 2 hours.
Right.
And with that, I always left feeling like I was strong enough to take on whatever I was already dealing with. You know, it's just like it was like, wait a minute, nothing else has changed but this?
Yeah.
I'm the same person, you know? So then I was like, wait a minute, I'm building something here. Like my mind's getting stronger, my body's getting stronger. So then it's consequently, you know, you feel better mentally, you feel better physically, you look better physically, but you're also now stronger and more able to take on life's challenges, you know? And I think the better you are able to handle those challenges, you are able to triumph a lot of the obstacles, which I always say freedom is the absence of fear and doubt, right? When you're able to kind of look at something and not be afraid of the failure or whatever the outcome is going to be, or you don't have any doubt that you can conquer it, that's when you feel free. To me, I'm able to make the decisions that I want without anything slowing me down. And I felt like, to me, training was the number one thing that changed that, because it's physical and mental. I think it's the only thing that you can do that's physically and mentally altering and pushes you to the highest level of self-correction and self-growth. You know, so it's a pretty deep meaning for me, though. Like when we're training, like, you know, I think each day you're getting a little bit closer to that freedom bucket. Now you're able to kind of do that dream that you want because you're building it up. Yeah. You're building yourself up to who you envision you need to be, and then you will be free one day from the chains of quote unquote fear and doubt.
Right.
So
Yeah, I mean, I can attest that when I work out, it's one of those, like, yeah, I may be tired at the end of that workout, but my mind is clear.
Yeah.
And it feels like I feel like I have really good. That's when I used to love and go and work on things, because like the creativity starts to kind of come out a little bit. Now, if I had too tough of a workout, no, I just need a protein shake and go to bed.
Right.
But it is a exhilarating experience to be able to work out and just honestly feel relieved of whatever stress or anything that was weighing on us, and just completely feel free. How did this whole facility start? Like, was it the entire thing all at once, or was it a slow growth over time? When did you actually start?
This is nothing slow at all about this, I would say. So we were, let's say January 1, 2023.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's been pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it all happened kind of fast and unexpectedly.
Okay.
So I was at another local facility for some years. Like when I moved out here, I'd worked for a company that manufactured weight room equipment.
Okay.
And they had done some work with the local training gym as well. And I kind of, worked my way into there and started working and kind of honing a lot of my skills and learning and just kind of growing in general. I wanted to make it kind of broad, because that's really what it was just growing. And some things were kind of moving around. We didn't really know which way we were going to go. Like, there was a lot of directions that things could have gone. And I mean, out of nowhere, I just got a random phone call saying, hey, got this building available. If you're interested, give me a call. And I was just, or if you're interested, let me know, and we'll meet out there. And I was like, whoa, this is just a random Tuesday, man. But yeah, let's go. So it was just very out of the blue. And so I came out here, checked it out, and I was given like 24 hours.
Oof.
So it was one of those like, yeah, so what do you think? Oh, you like it? Great. Okay, well, if you can let us know tomorrow. I was like, oh, wait a second. You said tomorrow isn't tomorrow, or tomorrow
is a life-changing thing right here.
Yeah. So, but once again, man, that's how it happens, though. It's either you want it or you don't, and that's what I had to tell myself right then and there, because it was like I had to step back. I said, okay, well, back up. You're going to do this. Why are you talking yourself out of it? This is it. Why are you retreating? And then you start doing the little small self reassurances, like you've never failed in the past. Why would you think that's going to happen now? There is no failure. There's only lessons. There's whatever happens, you're going to be better for this.
I like that. Say that again.
There is no failure. There's only lessons, man. I got quotes for days.
Ooh.
That's how I live my life, man. Quotes on repeat, like a projector in here.
Yeah, that's really good. I mean, I've said it. I just said it on Thursday when I recorded, but I will continue to say it. I will never stop saying it. You will learn more from your failures than you ever will your successes.
Every time.
So
10 out of 10 times.
I like that. There's no failures, just lessons. That's good.
Every time, man. And everything is a blessing depending on the angle, So that's big. But the decision had to be made in 24 hours. So it was one of those, drive home, turn everything off, sit down, look at everything, and make a decision. And I decided to take that jump, but that was entailing, exiting the previous training location, and then, also signing up for something that you currently don't have a plan for, So, long story short, I decided to say, yes, we're going to do it. And then, we signed papers, and they're like, great, we'll be out in 30 days. So you're like, huh, interesting. I have to build a business and fill this 20,000 square foot facility in 30 days. Man, when you say it out loud, it sounds crazy.
It does. It really does.
I didn't even have time to think about how crazy it was. I just had to go. Like, that was I could have been Nike spokesperson for 30 days. It was just do it. It was, it was sign papers, make the decision, and then it was like I felt like I just put on like a mask, and I was like, okay, here we go. Like, we're locking in, no excuses, and it was just like I just eat, sleep, breathe this facility, because I was in here with like my measure app on my phone, like getting all the dimensions, drawing just like different maps out, laying out the facility, because not only did I not have a plan, but I didn't know how I was going to lay it out. I didn't know what to. You don't know anything. I knew nothing. I literally just signed up for something I had zero idea on how I was going to have it come to life.
Can I ask, did you have any other trainers that you were already thinking about having here, or was it just going to be you at the start?
So like when I signed it was just me.
Okay.
It was just me. There were some people that were like, oh yeah, we might come out there. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do. And it was just like, and then, you don't want to, because at that time I didn't know anything. I didn't know if I was going to have any clients. I didn't know if I was going to have any trainers. I was just like, this is Brandon's thing and he'll figure it out. Okay. You know what I mean? Because at the same time, you have there's a big moral battle because I'm leaving this other gym. So now I'm like, man, they got families. Yep. They've got stuff going on. I don't want to. So you're trying to do your best to live your life and fulfill your dreams without crushing anybody else's. Mm-hmm. And, those are the things that, like, people just want to hear the success stories. But there's always a bad guy. Yep. And I was a bad guy for a second. And I'm just like, oh, my gosh. So you got that weighing on you as you're trying to chase your dreams, and it's just like, that's big. Yeah. That was real big because I was like, oh, man. So, I didn't really know what was going to happen. Things worked out, fortunately. But, there was zero guarantees. Yeah. Zero guarantees. And it was like I told them we were going to do it, and the next thing I did, so let's just also preface this by saying this whole thing was built on, like, Facebook Marketplace. Like, that's one thing I like to let people know is that, like, there is no, like, I don't want to say rule book. It's just get it done. Mm-hmm. Like, do it and just like, don't, there's the book says this, because I think that anybody who's really doing anything can say that the book can really kind of get tossed. Yeah. Sometimes you read a page or two, but a lot of times it's just getting it done, and it was, found the place. I knew what I needed, like equipment list wise, because first thing I did was write an equipment list. Yeah. I was like, just started writing it down and then like an approximate value. Then I kind of knew, okay, I need at least this much to open my doors. I'm like, boom, let's knock it out. So then I'm just online, set my search radius like 500 miles and just looked everywhere for everything. Found a lot of things locally, but just started just acquiring stuff. Yeah. Because I had zero equipment to my name. Nothing. Wow. Nothing. I had nothing. I just had.
And you had 30 days to get enough.
30 days. And I mean, no loans, no credit cards, no partners, no investors, just a bunch of hustle, a truck, a trailer, and some money.
That is impressive.
Yeah.
That is very impressive.
It was a grind. But I think that's why I appreciate it a little bit more because I think you look back and you're like, man, you did it. But then but now this gives me more motivation to tell somebody else, like, dude, no, you definitely can do it. You've just gotta really want it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the thing with everything in life. That's what I think a lot of people, like, we all want it. But how bad do you really want it? Like, we all say we want it, but are you willing to put in the work that it takes to get there? Because, it's almost, you didn't necessarily have your back against the wall, but that was the mentality that you took. And it's like,
100%.
Your back kind of was against the wall in a way. So, like, it's like, I got to figure this out, or, I just wasted a lot of time and probably money. So it's 100%. You better get on it and figure it out.
I think that there's people make excuses for things that I think that because it is a societal acceptance, I was laying the flooring on my birthday, and that's to me, there's nothing I'd rather be doing than that though. Yeah. You know what I mean? But somebody might be like, oh, it's my birthday and I don't want to do any work on my birthday. It's my day. I'm going to go out and do this. And I was like, not a chance.
I hate celebrating birthdays.
I was celebrating there, laying flooring. It was up at 5 a.m. and I was here until 11 p.m. and it was just doing what had to be done, whether it was Sunday, Monday, Christmas, my birthday, right? It's just, it gets pretty black and white. Yeah. Pretty black and white.
Kind of going off of it though, looking at where you're at now, which we'll dive more into as well, but if there's one piece of business advice that you could give to somebody starting out, what would it be? Whether it's a gym or any type of business, really. And I know it's kind of just a broad overview, but if there's one piece of business advice, what would it be?
That's good, man. I think, because there's so many pieces, but I'm trying to think on what would be something that I found to be like the trump card. Probably. I would say skills are the number one thing to develop, like investing in yourself. And I think if I had to pick one, it would be like people relations, like personal relations, like being able to create genuine relationships with people and like the ability to be genuine and communicate. I think that if I had to pick one, I think that would be the number one thing, because that there leads to everything else. I think if you have a knack for people, you can sell that way. You can network that way. People are more inclined to refer you. People are more inclined to connect you with their connection.
Yes.
And I think, it's really easy to sell when you're not trying to sell, right?
Yeah.
So people hate being sold. I'm me included, but sales make the world go round.
They do.
So, it's a lot different if you say, buy my stuff versus, hey, you sell that, don't you? Yeah, I'll because I know that guy. He's a real cool dude. He's never tried to sell me once, because people know what they want typically, and if they know you do it and you do a great job and they like you, they're going to go with you, Yeah. So I think everything falls from your ability to work with people in general, because that will lead you to absolutely everything.
Oh, 100%. It has helped me in even my blue collar line of work, just knowing how to talk to people, because now if my boss is not on site, I'm the one that communicates with the customers and that kind of stuff. And it's just because of, honestly, I will say this podcast has been a huge help. I was naturally a shy kid. When I was a kid, my grandfather used to take me to Cracker Barrel and force me to order my own food, because he was like, I don't like how shy he is. I didn't want to talk to people. I was the baby of the family. I was the youngest of 4. So I kind of got spoiled by everybody. And then it got to the point where they're like, okay, we spoiled them too much almost. So, but, and that's kind of, relations with people and being able to talk to people is how me and you have actually came into contact.
Yeah.
You knew Chad.
Boom.
I didn't meet Chad directly. I met Chad through my boss. So it was a long span, which makes it even that's proof right there of where just being able to communicate with people and genuinely care for people and just have a genuine conversation can lead you to multiple different things in business and in life.
Yeah, it's I would attribute almost everything, like this relationship for this building. I mean, like how we got in here was due to another training client. I mean, it's you don't know who you're talking to.
No.
You don't know who you're meeting, and I mean, as they say, I mean, I talk to everyone. I ask questions to everybody. It doesn't matter who you are. As they say, you treat the CEO the same way you treat the janitor. I mean, and that's exactly, I would say I live that, and anybody who asks would say the same thing. Yeah. You pulled up in a Bugatti or a Lamborghini, you rolled up on a Huffy bike, still my dude. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, what's up? What you got going on today? It's the same thing, but I think that is the number one thing. Yeah. And
especially in an industry like this where you are genuinely communicating with people every single day. All of your clients, you're communicating. It would be very hard to be a client of somebody that was training me if they said 3 words to me the entire time. I'd be like, oh yeah, what am I supposed to do? Yeah, go run.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. No, it is 100% communication. And I mean, we work with a lot of little kids, man. And it's just we're the next level of adult, right? It's like they got their parents and then we see them next, right? So it's like kids are shy, what I mean? So you've got to be able to kind of put yourself on their frequency, and kind of talk to them and have them open up. But if you're shy and they're shy, hold on now. Yeah. It's not even a shy thing. I think it's just finding the common ground, because you don't want to be someone you're not. If you're a shy person, I think you got to play into that. You got to double down on that, and it's cool, because this person may be shy, they may not be shy, but I think it's great to put your genuine self out there and then have them meet you, and then whatever it is you guys meet on the common ground of, let that be your point of jumping off, But yeah, I mean, I was struggling to get that answer out because resourcefulness was up there, because I just feel like you have to wear every hat.
Yeah,
as a
that's
business.
true.
I mean, big or small, you're going to have to know how to do a lot of things. And even if you're not physically doing them, how to hire for them.
Yes.
So it's
that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
You may not be doing it the entire time of your career, but you do have to have a general understanding of kind of everything.
Correct.
And because I've recently just kind of started my own little business, and it is, I haven't got super far into it, but it's just today I printed off like media consent forms, and like it's
Yeah.
just like it was one of those things like it didn't even hit me, and then I was like, oh crap, I need to have those if I go to, because
Oh yeah.
that's a real easy lawsuit to get yourself in and that kind of stuff. So like I never thought I'm not the most financial person. I always hated finance classes in college, but I have a good understanding of it that I can get myself through it to the point where maybe, you know, I'm in not being afraid to ask questions to people who do know. Like I talk to my boss all the time. I started my own business and talk to my boss about my business because he's willing to help me, and mentors is another one too. There's so many things, but it's hard to pick just one.
Super hard. Yeah, you said mentors. That's I mean, when you said one, that's why I was like, oh man. I mean, I got a top 10 list, right? But I mean, number one is hard.
Right.
Yeah, that's real big. And I mean, I'm convinced small business is harder than big business.
Oh, I agree.
I
could
like,
see. Yeah.
It's because you don't know the systems, so you're learning the systems and then creating the systems. You know, and it's on the outside. It's like, oh, just spend the money and have someone do it. But as a small business, when you're first starting, you don't really have those funds. You don't have the capital to just kind of hire it out or, you know, have someone just kind of handle it for you. So you're kind of always, it's the ebbs and flows are crazy.
Yeah.
You know, it's the back and forths. But
yeah, Apple can afford to just try something for $100 million or whatever, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. They're not hurting. If you wanted to try something, it's a giant risk.
Huge risk.
And it's the balance of, you know, risk versus reward. And, you know, the bigger the risk, the bigger reward, or the bigger the downfall.
Yes.
That's the
bigger the risk, the bigger the risk, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, and it's definitely one of those things. But you said you had a lot of young clients. What is your, so I guess also, what kind of services, I guess, do you guys all offer? Because you have a lot of different style trainers and everything like that.
Yeah, no. So Train for Freedom's goal in this 10,000 foot view, right? You zoom out a little bit and look at us in the next decade, right? Let's say we continue to move forward at the rate that we want. We want to be the one-stop shop, right? So the one thing that I noticed as I was doing a lot of things, because I struggled with it, and I started listening to pain points of other people, was, hey, I go to see John for my personal training. Then I go to see Beth for my nutrition. And then I go to see Jimmy for my supplements. Then I go to see this guy for my XYZ, right? You're moving everything around. And we want to basically put that under one umbrella. So instead of having to find 5 people you trust, you find one, you know, and we offer everything. So that is the goal, and that's much easier said than done, because you have to create 5 different businesses within one business, right? You have to have a nutrition business under this, a personal training business under this, an online training business under this, you know, and then a supplement business under this, and a meal prep business under this, you know. So and they're all individual businesses. So, you know, you're trying to create that, and it sounds like a lot because it is a lot, but I think that once it actually comes together, it's going to make a lot more sense, because then you're just like, you're not going to anybody, you're just going to the next page of the website. You know what I mean? You sell, quote unquote, a package, right? And it's just like the life-changing package, and it's just absolutely everything you need. So you're not having to look online and Google how much you should be eating, how much sleep you should be getting, all these different things, and how should I be lifting? It's just, you come to Train for Freedom, we take care of you.
Right.
You know, so that's the overall view. Right now, we are currently we're hyper-focused or far in the personal training, in-person services at this location. So we do everything from your standard general fitness training, so someone that just wants to be in shape, to your athletic sports performance training, like on a private level, and then those same things like on a class level. So those are the big 2 on a general / overall athletic performance level, and then we do sports skill training. So volleyball specific skills, basketball specific skills, track and field specific skills, soccer, baseball, football. So things that are going to be coming out of the blocks, overhand serving, and, you know, different dribbling, how to shoot. So they're breaking down the actual sport, and then the complementary piece of making them bigger, faster, stronger, better athletes. So
what is your specific? I know obviously as a track athlete you probably do that, but do you also just do general training as well?
Yep, 100%. So that is the majority of it, is like your total performance training. So where we'll have athletes that are multi-sport athletes. Let's say you have an 8th grader, he's 14 years old, comes in, hey, I'm going to high school next year, I want to be bigger, faster. Yep, no problem. So we come in, kind of go through our assessments, see where they are, and then meet again with them to see kind of availability, you know, what their financial commitment wants to be, and what kind of time frame we have. You know, like how are we looking? When did things start back up? Are you planning on training in season? What are we looking at? You know, and then we start on that path. But yeah, I would take those same things on 100% from top to bottom.
So, you know, you mentioned trained in season, and I want your opinion on it because a lot of people go back and forth. How does your training in season, how do you feel it should look? And I know it may vary also sport to sport. It's not the same for every type of sport per se, but kind of what is your thoughts on in-season training?
So in-season training, let's say, like, I guess if I had to define, like, so when you say training, so you mean like just like in general, just what would we do in season? Because I feel like...
Yeah, kind of like, because I know a lot of people not necessarily shy away from the weight room, but they're not as focused on the weight room in season.
One of the biggest mistakes, in my opinion, is that most high school programs stop lifting in season. And you know, and it's no fault of the coaches. I mean, they're just trying to do what's best, and they probably just are doing what they know. Yeah. Right. So I think that is the exact opposite of what you should be doing. So we lift all of our kids pretty much all year long, right? We lift and sprint consistently. It's just a matter of how much, right? A matter of how much volume and what method and how we're doing it. But the first question we always ask is, what did you guys do today on a granular level? Like, what did you do today, right? And then if we haven't maybe seen them for a couple weeks and they kind of just pop back in, whatever happened, you know, we kind of look at, hey, where are you guys at? Where are you at in the season? What have you guys been doing? What's going on? You know, and then we kind of take maybe more of a safer route if we're not super sure, you know, if they're not doing a great job of explaining it. But we definitely train in season. And if we're lucky enough to have an athlete that we can work with through the season, because in this industry it's kind of spotty sometimes, right? Because there's a financial element to it, and then there's like a life element, you know, that they're kind of, you know, dealing with as well. And if we're lucky enough to have them consistently throughout the year, 52 weeks a year, then it's really easy because we can start certain lifts at the top of the season and we can kind of periodize them and taper them towards the end, and their performances will follow that. So then we're really in control. We see everything. But we definitely train with them throughout the season, and it's just a matter of the volume that we control. You're right. You know, and at the same time, we overemphasize the fact that these athletes need to be taking care of themselves in the 23 hours that they're not here, because they can wash it all away or they can go out there and get hurt, because we are increasing. Even at the slightest amount of volume, we're doing more volume than what the coach is prescribing, you know. So that can be kind of hairy as well, you know, because, you know, you are kind of adding to what a coach may be doing. So you have to really, really, really be in tune. Like, a lot of times I try to get practice schedules, like the itinerary, like what they're doing, and I'll try to get like if they are doing some lifting, but it's very generalized, you know what I mean? Then I try to look at that, you know, and if I think it's not a great idea to do something, then, you know, we may do some recovery type stuff or mobility type stuff. I have yet to meet an athlete that has, you know, that's 10 out of 10 in every category, you know. So whatever, you know, they may be overdoing, then we're going to do the opposite and just kind of bring that area up. But we always train for sure. Yeah, especially high school coaches. Nothing against them. It was the same exact for me. And it opened my eyes when I got to college. And, like, you know, we're still 3 times a week during 2 or 3 times a week. I can't remember exactly, but we're still weight training. And, you know, it's not like we're maxing out. You know, we're not doing max outs, but we are training. And I think, like, the first time, that was when I really also fell in love with stretching. I used to never think stretching was truly needed until I got to college. And I started stretching a lot more, and I was like, I had a band in my room, and I would stretch just like laying there watching TV. It is a big deal. Huge deal. I used to also think yoga. And college got me into yoga, especially during camp days. We had usually an afternoon session once a week at least of a yoga, and then, like, we'd do it, and I'm like, man, all my soreness, it's gone. It's vanished. I feel amazing now. Yeah. Like, in the moment, I was crying through the pain, but yoga is deceiving. Yeah. Oh yeah. It seems like it's so simple too, and some of those poses is like you get into it and you're like, why is this so hard? Well, yeah, I mean, it's one of the, what is it? Simple, not easy, right? Yeah. It's like, it is simple, but it's not easy. Yeah, right. What is your go-to athlete? Like, if you had to pick one athlete that you wanted to train, what would it be? And, like, what, I guess, like, age level would you prefer? Oh man, that's good stuff. I would say. That's good stuff. I would probably say ideally the most. Oh man, that's good. a moderately athletic and extremely coachable 6th to 8th grader.
Okay.
Old enough to listen and and pay attention, young enough to be moldable, and early enough that they probably haven't learned a bunch of bad habits,
Mm-hmm.
and young enough that you can train them for long enough to have a lasting impact.
Right.
Because I feel like every coach wants to impact their athletes, and I feel like that is a very impactful age. 6th grade, let's say, right? Was that 12? I don't know. 12, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's ideal, because then at that point, you're able to catch some of the bad habits early, create some really, really good systems for them to have a short memory on bad events, right, and stuff like that, or even good events, really, because you did it once, you got to do it again.
Yeah.
But kind of teach them a lot of things. But then I said the moderately athletic. Give me something that I can work with.
Yeah.
Right? This is ideal. We're creating ideals here. But yeah, because then I think then it's that I think that exciting, because I picture what's ideal, like. Boom! I'm high fiving the dude, like, hey man, or the girl, whatever. Hey, great job, and they're excited because they just did something new,
Yeah.
and they hit the goal. I'm excited because we hit the goal, and then you think the next thing in the list is I want to do this again, and you can,
Right.
because you're young, that is like, yes, this feeling can happen again and again and again and again, and then you have enough time to kind of watch them grow, and if they were to go on to play professionals or high level collegiate or whatever,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, you get to see all of that, and I think the last thing is that they're young enough that you're going to be like a memorable portion.
Mm-hmm.
Remember I trained with Brandon? He did X, Y, and Z for me. You know what I mean? And
I'm not super close with him, but my trainer from high school,
Mm-hmm.
I still talk to him, and I just remember certain things that have always stuck with me. And it's the same with like every coach that you've ever had, good and bad, is you do have something that's memorable. But having somebody like that you kind of come up with in a way,
yeah,
and
exactly.
helps you get to your overall goal, that's something that could be irreplaceable.
Yeah, because I feel like once they get to the collegiate age, because you kind of transfer. Like my coach from college, best coach I've ever had in my life. Best coach, hands down, no thoughts. Mentor, right? I was fortunate enough to create a relationship over the 2 or 3 years that we were together, right? That's awesome.
Yeah.
But imagine if it was 10 years, you know what I mean? And that's what I picture is like, you can be a mentor, like hey coach, I haven't talked to you in a while, but I'm getting ready to go for this job interview. What do you think?
Yeah.
What did we talk about when we were doing this, man? You know what I mean? Believe in yourself. Whatever we kind of fell back on. It's a generic one, but it's that whole vision, long-term help, right? Kind of the molding and the shaping at that age. That's one of the most enjoyable pieces, though. We get a lot of that, and you're fortunate, honestly, because it's fun for everybody.
Right. You mentioned bad habits, because a lot of the young athletes do pick up bad habits, whether it's lifting or running form or anything, little habit. What would you say is the number one bad habit that you see most of your young athletes that come in that they have, and how can it be maybe avoided, or, when, I don't even know, I guess we'll just say, how can it kind of be avoided?
Bad habit, just in general?
Yeah,
just overall?
in terms of like any of the type of training that you do, whether it's weight training or, actual mobility and movement and stuff like that.
Oh, yes, man. You ever have a question that hits you and you're like stumped almost, like not stumped, but you can't think about what the answer would be, and then it just pops in your head,
that
like
light bulb goes
off. It
off.
was almost like somebody just dropped it in my head, like from above, and I'm like, shout out. I would say the number one bad habit, and I'm going to almost slash misconception, is that effort equals performance. And that's kind of a broad statement.
Yeah.
What I mean by that is they associate 100% effort with that also giving you 100% performance. And what I mean by that is let's use running, for example. If an athlete wants to get faster, they think if they're, ignorant to running, the harder they try, they tense, they squeeze, they bring their shoulders up, they close their eyes, the harder they try, the faster it's going to be. And to them, that makes logical sense because that's all they know.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, okay, Johnny, let's break this down a second. If it was based on pure effort, you would run harder and you would run faster every time we ran.
Mm-hmm.
You would never peak. But at some point, that has to go away.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you get to a certain level of effort, then effort is capped out. It's a moot point. The next thing has to be brought up. So thinking that it is purely effort-based, we get that a lot, right? And they will question, man, why am I not getting any better? I'm working so hard. And we are constantly rehearsing. It takes time. We're trying to change a lot of your natural movements, right? Things that you've been doing for a long time, you know. And I think that is probably number one. So many people, like in here, we do 95% sprints.
Okay.
I call them 95s.
So explain that. Like, what?
Yeah.
Why is it the 90? Why 95? And how do you kind of explain that to a kid as well?
I have a graph. I draw a graph. I'm telling you, man. I'm doing this for a little while. I've kind of figured this out. So I try to. I mean, I'm not gonna lie and say I don't use the word 100%, but I mean, it all depends on who I'm talking to.
Yeah.
But 95 is now known as our 100% in sprints, at least. And I explain, I try not to even use 100% because I feel like you shift. Like when someone says 100%, you're like, oh man, now you naturally tense instantly.
Mm-hmm.
When you drop that 5% mentally, your mind just thinks, oh, okay, I still got 5%. I got a little bit left in me. So I'm going to just relax. Boom. When you relax, that unlocks everything we need, right? When you hear 95%, you hear the 5%, the mind thinks, okay, we're going to back off the gas a little bit. Now, whether or not it's actually what it is, I'm not really concerned with the actual percentages. I'm trying to unlock the result.
Right.
When they relax, they then open up a wider range of motion, which we were looking for, right? They start actually being able to tap into their stretch reflex. Love it. And then they're able to have a better, closer to perfect technique. Those three things together are going to allow us to run our absolute fastest, our objective fastest. Because kids confuse subjective with objective all the time. That felt great. Slowest time of the day. They come down. That was the slowest one of the day. Fastest time of the day.
Yeah.
You know, that felt so slow. New PR. You know, and it happens time and time again. And I'm used to it. You know, the coaches are used to it. Because we understand the game. We understand how it works. But they don't. You know, so they're associating effort with performance, and it's not just blanket effort. It's effort on the right things.
Yeah.
Where are you driving it? Are you trying? He has 100% effort at being relaxed. Perfect. Not 100% effort just throwing at the wall. Shotgun approach. Give me 100% effort on focusing on being relaxed, having a perfect range of motion, having the relaxation and having your body in a position that we can utilize stretch reflex, and having proper technique. If you give me 100% effort on that, fastest time. The hardest part is being able to do it and then do it again and do it again.
Yeah.
Because kids do it once. And, I mean, you probably heard it before, but we always say it. We don't do it until we get it right. We do it until we can't get it wrong. You know, so that's, they get excited, but then the next rep, they think about it, overthink it, slow. Mm-hmm. So it's, we have a system, we have a process, you know, but yeah, I've kind of gotten out of the habit of using the term 100%. So when we warm up, it's 75%, 85%, 95%, you know, and I see PRs on 85% because they're so relaxed and it's just so smooth. Smooth as fast. Have you seen the movie like, what's it called? Like Lone Survivor or some sort of sniper movie.
American Sniper.
There's a sniper movie, and I should know the name of it if I'm going to quote it, right? But it's like slow is smooth, smooth is fast.
Yeah.
And that's exactly the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah, that is live by that.
Yeah, I've never heard of anybody doing that, but when you explained it, it does make so much sense, especially with younger athletes, because the younger athletes, like you said, we tense. Like it is the natural thing. It's like you almost get there's almost a little bit of nervousness around it of like I have to give 100%, and effort, like you mentioned also, like just because you're running as hard as you can doesn't mean you're doing everything right.
Correct.
I used to run as hard as I could, but I was side to side all the time.
Yeah.
And when I finally learned, I've never been fast, but when I finally learned like straight line and keep your body, like it changes things.
They say it's not how fast you run, it's how you run fast.
Yes.
Yeah, man.
Yes.
That's real though.
It is.
That's some real stuff. we use like a decent amount of quotes as we go through like a lot of these things, but that's real, because I think, once again, I try to relate everything from the athletic side that we're doing back to these kids' lives.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, athletics at whatever point they end, right? Michael Jordan, he's done.
Right.
GOAT, done.
Yeah.
Or at some point in your life, it ends. Doesn't matter when, but it does. And you have to fall back on some of the things that you've been doing your entire life as your foundation, right? And you fall to the level of your systems, right? And I think that learning that, because I think that applies in life too, though. When you're just like go 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 go, I think that you're not maybe doing the highest quality. You feel like you're moving, but are you progressing?
Right.
You might be moving, but you could be running back and forth, side to side,
Right.
not forward. You know what I mean? So I think sometimes when you take that back and you create a system and you go through that system at a smooth rate, you get a lot more done.
Mm-hmm.
Focus on one task, get it done, instead of trying to do 5 different ones at 10%.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I try to relay that to them as well, and it's just it's been successful, but it's an ever growing cycle.
Right.
So
I gotta take a quick pause because the camera stopped. But yeah, so you guys have multiple different sections in here too, because like you have the gym over there.
Yeah.
You got all your turf area here. You got your actual like gym per se. Like it is a really cool space. Where is your spot that if you could work with a kid, like are you more focused on their movement side of things? I guess it also depends on the age, but or are you more focused on the weight room itself? And it also depends on the person too, because like if somebody comes in that you could tell has been in the weight room, but they move like a baby giraffe, so I mean, where would you prefer to start with an athlete? I guess is the big thing.
No, that's a great question. I only use preferences based on my initial thoughts, right?
Okay.
So. Or my initial findings, observations. So, for example, I try to find out as quick as possible an athlete's crutch, right? I have an athlete that I've been working with for years, excels a lot in the weight room, a lot in nervous system, like natural speed and work ethic. All these things are maxed out, right? They're doing a lot of things. The one thing that is holding this athlete back will be mobility and their flexibility. So I had to, it takes so much to try to explain to an athlete that, hey, this is your golden ticket here. You've got everything else, but this is what's holding you back, because it doesn't, not saying feel like work, but when you think about, I'm going to go train, you picture the weight room, you picture sprinting, you picture sweating and doing this, not on a yoga mat doing hip stretches, Yeah. But I said, okay, no, but I hear you. But now, do you want to do what feels like a Gatorade commercial, so it's kind of cool and you can tell your friends you went and did this, or do you want to achieve your athletic, potential, and do you want to, win a state title? Do you want to do these things that you're capable of, or do you want to do what feels cool?
Right.
So you've got to look in the mirror like, hey, look, I mean, we'll do whatever you want to do. You're technically paying me. So I will do what you are telling me to do, unless you want me to do my actual job and make you better. And we'll sit down and, we may have a whole, let's give it 45 minutes of mobility. We'll warm up, get our body warm, get going. And, they'll leave like, oh my God, I feel so much better. And I'm like, yeah, keep doing that. Let's keep doing that, because everything else is 10 out of 10. This is a 2. So now your whole average is getting brought down. These things are 10 out of 10s if you were mobile. 10 out of 10, but now they're 8s because they can't be 10s until you get this up.
Right.
So now as we make progress, everything else that's already stored, we're unleashing a lot of the power we already had. You know what I mean? So, you start thinking, if you have all this power over a wider range, you know what I mean? You start using like a lot more leverage on these things. It's not a straight line. It's like exponential. Every inch is not equal. You know what I mean? So it's that's my thing. I think is finding out the athlete's main crutch and then exploiting that and throwing everything into that,
right.
To accelerate their growth the most. Yeah. So I would prefer, I would prefer to figure that out as fast as I can to
Right.
be able to help them as fast as possible. So if that's the weight room, great. If that's the field, if that's a yoga studio, whatever it is, it is what it is. But yeah, I mean, they all have their pros and cons.
Right.
Teaching running is very hard. Speed training, very hard.
Oh,
I mean,
believe
at
it.
a high level. I mean, anybody
Yeah.
can speed train.
Yeah.
Very hard at a high level.
Yeah.
Very hard. Because it's not just about knowing it, but keeping an athlete like focused and like through the ups and downs of, because you have to get slower before you get faster.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's muddy waters. That's
Oh, I'll never forget the first time when I was doing speed training and we went to this, first test day after I'd started, and it was like, why did I get slower?
Yeah.
What happened? And they're like, just trust us. And I'm like, it's really hard to trust you right now. Why did I get slower?
Yeah.
I'm already slow as it is.
Yeah, real quick. I thought this was speed training.
Yeah.
What's going on here? Yeah.
Yeah.
Am I in the right class?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you guys even have, Train for Freedom teams, correct?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I know you have volleyball because I know Jordan
Yep.
a decent amount. I beat him in volleyball down at Newark Station.
Wow.
So
Getting personal, man. R.I.P. to
I will
Jay
say
Money.
that he's a sub for our team and helped us win. So I can't say much.
Oh
so.
man, R.I.P. Donnie. Kind of brought him back a little bit.
But so I know Jordan has the volleyball. Is that, do you guys have basketball or anything? Or is it just volleyball at the moment?
Volleyball and baseball.
Oh, baseball. That's right.
Yep. So youth baseball team, travel teams. It's we're experimenting a little bit. Volleyball's definitely taking off. Like we're doing that for sure. Yeah, that's going to be huge, and it's something we wanted to do. But once again, all these different legs, they're separate businesses.
Mm-hmm.
So it takes so much energy. And I'm still actively working in the business. So it can be very difficult to work on the business. So
Okay.
it's two different things dramatically. And the thing about personal training is that when you're with an athlete for that hour, that's it.
all you got
That's
for that
it.
hour.
That is it. You've got that's not including your program writing,
Yep.
your communications, your scheduling, your motivational pieces. It's
Yep.
it's nothing. It's
Yep.
just that hour. So if I'm coaching, that's me working in and on, I guess technically.
And that might be you could have back to back record or sessions
all day.
to where you have, it's not just 1 hour, you have maybe 10 minutes, 5 minutes in between, if that.
Yeah, I mean, it's so easy to, it's consistently, I don't even know when I'm not coaching 3:30 to 8:30 each day,
Mm-hmm.
each night. Because, we're working with the athletes and stuff like that.
Right.
And that's not including any morning sessions. That's just, looking at my evening only,
Yeah.
right? I'm talking about kind of our athletes. Frequently we'll have, 8 o'clock groups, 10 o'clock groups in the mornings and stuff like that, So we've got that stuff going on top of, just trying to do everything else that the
Right.
business requires, and that's 5 days out of the week. And then, like I said, I'm here both weekend days for multiple hours working, in the business, and then I have to use whatever time outside of that on the business.
Yeah.
But the thankful portion about the volleyball portion is that, you have people like Jordan, you have people like Leslie, Jordan's mom, who's
Yes.
huge, deep volleyball background, who are graciously taking it under their wing and doing a great job, and I'm kind of overseeing some of the operations and some of the branding and the marketing pieces and stuff like that. But that is a piece that is awesome to have. It's a portion that we can capitalize on because of the court, things like that. But the baseball team was something that was also started by a family that we train, stuff like that. We want to get a basketball team, track and field, track club. So we want to do more, but once again, it takes a person that dives into it.
Yeah.
So I would rather. I'm kind of patient. I'm impatient, but I'm also patient. So I'm very impatient on things that I want. When I see what I want, I just navigate and kind of move away through the line and kind of navigate to it and get to it. And I'm impatient in that manner, right? If I know what it is and I see it, I'm just boom, gonna get it. Doesn't matter what I got to do. But I'm very patient on presenting my best product, my best version. So what I mean by that is I would rather not start a track club right now, even though we could, but not be really great.
That is such a powerful business thing right there that I think a lot of people mess up on is, yes, I could do it right now, but would it be beneficial long term? is, it may in the end work out, but it may come at the cost of some other things in the process.
100%.
And it's sometimes worth waiting till you can get to the point where it's like, now I can for sure do this. I can put maybe more attention towards this side of things, and I'm able to pass off some things or stuff like that.
That's exactly right.
That is a very powerful thing that just was said.
That's big, man. I mean, but you're always second guessing it a little bit.
Yep.
Like, man, could I?
Oh yeah.
But then in the back of your mind, you like trust yourself, do this, do that, and I don't know. Sometimes like, I don't enforce it if I don't have to. Like a lot of times, it's because some stuff has to be done
right
now. Like there is like not tomorrow, not next minute, this very second. And there's sometimes things that you want to do that are fun. That you would love to do, but like you said, it's just that ability to kind of hold back and see the urgent versus important. I think that's a big one too. That's important, I think, to start because I think it would be great. I think another revenue stream would be huge. Like my background in it's great. Got a lot of track and field connections, but it's definitely not urgent. It's not something we need to do right now. There's a lot of legs. We were looking to get this supplement line back off the ground, so that's big.
So that was another thing I wanted to ask or kind of mention, I feel like as a business owner, do you maybe, whether you feel it's the right decision or not, you probably almost second guess just about every business decision. I mean, because in the back of your head, you may still 99% believe like this is the absolute right decision, and I know it's what I should be done. But then there's always, I feel like, that little bit of, I don't want to call it self-doubt, but it is a little bit of self-doubt or, just that questioning of, or what if, but what if, that kind of stuff.
That is so funny. I believe, so I have a lot of beliefs, right? I have a lot of things. I think a lot. I believe the best entrepreneurs are paranoid.
Okay.
I believe that they are paranoid that, and not in like a negative way, but
right.
I always feel like I'm behind, right? I always feel like I should be working harder, doing more, achieving more. And I feel like I'm like, oh, I can be pulling more out of myself, or if I could learn this skill, I could be doing that, right? Or, man, what if this doesn't work out, or this, you know what I mean? And what if, like the list of what ifs can go on and on, right? And, I hope this building doesn't burn to the ground. I hope my whole team doesn't quit on me. You know what I mean? Like I feel like you have to. I feel like it's an innate thing. I feel like you have to be paranoid to keep your finger on the pulse. You know what I mean? And know everything that's happening.
Yeah.
Or have a system in place to figure it out. And I feel like you do. You're right. There is always a paranoia, but I think you get better at shrinking that gap of time that it takes you to delineate which one to go with. Like, oh, should I do this right now? Well, let me come back to that, right? Versus, oh, I know those, that's got some risk, but I'm willing to take that. Yeah, let's do it. You know what I mean? Like you can, I think the smaller you shrink that gap, it doesn't, I don't think you ever lose any paranoia.
Right.
But I think even on your 99-1 decisions, I think 99-1 is more so the rate of speed in which you can make the decision. I think if it's 50-50, it just takes longer. Yeah. You know what I mean? So that's I think if I had to put it that way, you definitely have something in the back of your head, but I think the closer you get to 100%, you're just making decisions faster. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think like it's good to be able to have that paranoia a little bit, because I feel like it allows you to be open to other people's ideas and suggestions. So it's not just you going my way or the highway. Obviously there's always going to be some certain circumstances where it's maybe not necessarily my way or the highway, but it's more of I have to make the decision for what's best overall, and not just for this one person or stuff like that. But I think it's good to have that little bit of paranoia, because I feel like it leaves you open to suggestions and ideas.
I listen to everything. And I mean, everything, whether or not I utilize it. I mean, it all depends on the conversation, but I listen to everything, because I mean, that statement of you can learn from everyone is so accurate. And I get excited about it though, because I'm just like, oh yeah, people aren't listening to this guy. I'm gonna listen to everything he has to say. You know what I mean? Because like, even if I learn nothing, at least now I'm putting something into, like, because you don't know what you don't know. So now I'm at least being exposed to new information. Right. Even if I use 0% of it, I'm like, okay, heard it before. You know what I'm saying? So then if I keep hearing it, I'm like, no, maybe this isn't. You know what I mean? But I'm exposed. You know, so I try to listen to everything from everyone, even if it's just in passing by or just asking a simple question or things that I have no interest, no background in. Just kind of hearing a little bit, oh, man, how'd you get into that?
Yeah.
Interesting, you know, but I mean, I think when you're more receptive to hearing things, I think because I like to take steps back and listen. Like when someone brings something up, and when sometimes, you know, your first thought is disagree, my way's right. But then I'm getting better at listening and thinking, okay, hold on. If they're presenting this idea, at least one person's brain in this world thought about this. Let's hear it out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I didn't think about it at all. So, okay, maybe it's got
most
something.
of the time when they're bringing it up, they have thought about it. It's not
something.
usually like
It's something.
And, you know, sometimes we all have our moments where we start to say something and we're like, oh, wait a second. Nope,
Yeah.
that doesn't sound right.
Because it doesn't mean that you have to do it. You know,
Right.
You're just listening. I'm just taking everything in, you know, and then I might be like, oh, let's think on that. And then I'm driving home and I'm just like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
There's been so many ideas that have happened that way, though. You know, so many ideas in general, whether in this business or in life in general. You hear somebody say something and you're like, that's stupid.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We've all
A
been that
month
way.
later, you're like, it probably wasn't that stupid.
Mine was my mom always, usually. She, after football games, told me the good, the bad, and the ugly. And usually I never agreed with her until, like, we'd be watching film and my coach would say the same thing. And you're like, ah, crap.
Yeah. Mine wasn't bad. Mine wasn't off.
Nope. So, yeah, I mean, it's what would you say is like the toughest part? Like, what was the toughest part of starting this all up? I know, obviously, like you had the 30 days, and like it was like making the decision all at once. But what was the toughest part of maybe getting started, and then what is the toughest part maybe versus now? Like the things of balancing everything.
Oh, that's great. So, personally, like I said, I have a 17-month-old baby, right? So, I mean that my entire life turned around from a career business perspective and a personal life perspective, right? That is, I mean, having a child is one of the biggest things that can happen to you in general. So that at the same time that you're starting a business, from the ground, you're like, okay, I got my cup is runneth over, right? So having to juggle that, and that's tricky because the word balance falls out of gone. There is no, it is, everything's at 100%. When you're at home, you're 100% dad, 100% husband, 100%, third family member, right? Whatever that means at that point. Mm-hmm. And when you're in the business, 100% business owner. And then when I'm training, I'm 100% brand, 100% coach. Right. Everything's 100%. And it's just a matter of where you are. And I feel like it's been a tricky learning process, I think, because there's no blueprints on.
Like you said, there's never a book for it.
Yeah, there's no blueprints on how to start a new business that you know some about, but you don't know this about with a baby. That is also your first time doing it. You know what I mean? And so you ask questions and you get up every day and you just say, I'm going to do the best that I can. Right. And mean it though. You know what I mean? And actually do it. That has been what my personal goals have been, and you're going to fall short, but you have to set the bar at 100%, because if you set it any less, it's just always a ratio. If you set it at 100 and you hit 85, you set it at 85, you're going to hit 55. Yep. You know what I mean? So it's just, you've got to set it to the stars and hope to land on the moon. Mm-hmm. So it's, that would, from a personal standpoint, has been the hardest. From like a business side, from the start, was the transition and kind of getting the initial, like the alpha, like, okay, I don't need everything to be perfect. I just need it to be here. I need to be able to just, make sure that I can process credit cards. I need to make sure that I, have a way for, to lock up. Trainers can get in. I need to have a way to track my athlete's progress. I just need the basic. I need to be able to do the job. It doesn't need to be pretty, but I have to be able to do it. Right. So being able to be in that mentality of, okay, you got 30 days, man, you don't have time to be perfect. You don't have time to research, you have time to do. Being able to be in that mode and then being able to shift out of it and start to kind of slowly shift yourself into, okay, we are doing, now let's be the best. You know what I mean? And then looking at what that looks like, and then managing a high production team, because that's very, very, very hard. When I was at Ashland, it was, I call it militaristic. Like, our coach is just great. I mean, he wanted you to be great more than you wanted to be great. You know what I mean? Like, and he would not accept anything less. And he did it and presented it in a way that if you weren't, then it was like you felt like you let yourself down for it. You know what I mean? And it was just like, and at the time, it's the hardest thing you've ever done.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, I was throwing up twice a week for 5 years. You know, so it's just the hardest thing ever. But you learn, like, yep, the point of the most pain and struggle is also my, like, happiest.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you're trying to teach that to a team can be very hard. You know, like, hey, I'm going to push you harder than you've ever been pushed before. I'm going to ask more of you than you've ever been asked of, and we're going to go to points at which discomfort is imminent and actually almost sought after, and we're going to win, and you're going to be happy about it.
Yeah.
You know how hard, you know that sounds.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's hard if you've never felt that way before. You know, because I remember walking into it and being like, wow, this is the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life. This is what I wanted. This is good. Like, I'm happy I'm here, but goodness gracious, this is intense. You know, I mean, you're talking like you run a workout that's pretty good. You're pretty close to what they asked for. Stop. Start over.
Oof.
You know what I'm saying? Close does not cut it. This is not horseshoes. It's not hand grenades, right? This is what are we doing it or are we not? We're not asking for gray. This is black and white once again. You know, so when you look at it that way and you just think, okay, I have to now implement that into this business, but it can't be cold turkey. Right. People, you know, if you've got great people that need to kind of be helped to their greatness, it can't just be either you have it or you don't. See ya. You know what I mean? It's like, you take your time, build them up to it, label expectations, and and be willing to accept people's best efforts at that time. You know, they're growing. You know, and so I think that's probably one of the hardest things for me, is because I want to be great, and I think everyone else here wants to be great, and it's hard to show what greatness looks like, you know, without actually doing it there. Yeah. But it's growing. It's growing for sure. So.
Yeah, and I feel like something else too, especially with young athletes, is building that confidence in them as well. Because I was watching, you know, as I'm doing my research, getting prepared for this, you know, some of your Instagram stuff, like the one of the D1 soccer player doing the box jumps. Oh, and she was like she would like take her step, and then she'd like, it's so high, and you're like, it's only 6 inches taller than what you just did, and you did the last one with ease. And then like you kind of, it is just building that confidence in her, and then she does it, and he goes, you were like, that was easy. Like, what? And it's just getting that confidence. Confidence, I'm sure, is an issue that you see with a lot of athletes that probably struggle with it.
It
or
could be number one, yeah.
Ego gets in the way as well at times.
Yeah. I mean, so, I feel like one of the biggest things I try to help athletes with on the confidence side of things is be confident, and you fall back on your intent, right? Meaning, don't look at where you are right now for your confidence. Be confident in that you know you're going to go out there and give it everything you have today, right? Be confident in your intent, and that's how you want to walk. Like, I intend to go out there and give everything that I have today, and that's all you can do, though, genuinely at that point in time, right? And then you go back to the drawing board, back to training, and you keep working. But you should be confident, because I think the lack of confidence comes in comparison. Right. And you need to be confident in being competitive. Right. So I always tell them, don't compare, compete. Comparison does nothing, literally nothing. You need to go out there and just compete, because you can compare and look at stats and all this. This person's going to this school. But how many people do you see with big names get beat all the time? They're just competing. They show up that day. Show up now. Be competitive now. You know what I mean? It's just because then it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need to see what they've done or know what you've done. You go out there, you bring it, everything that you have, genuine, objective, 100% effort, there's nothing to be unconfident about because you're giving everything it is.
Mm-hmm.
There is no what if, because this is it. This is
Yeah.
all here, So I mean, and for her specific example, I told like athlete, I like box jumps. And I look into everything almost too much. Box jumps are psychological.
Oh yeah.
They look at this as an obstacle.
Especially with the old school boxes that we used to jump on with just the wood boxes.
These kids don't know the pain of
No.
shins
Oh
being
my gosh.
destroyed.
Oh yeah.
Destroyed.
Multiple times it happened to me.
Oh yeah, I mean like the sides of all the wooden boxes are just red.
Yep.
They're just all red.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, man, they'll look at these boxes as like an obstacle, and I'm
Mhm.
like, don't think about jumping on the box. You just jump as high as you can and land on the box.
Mhm.
The box doesn't matter. I don't care if this box was 6 inches or 60 inches. Max effort.
Yeah.
Push into the ground as hard as you possibly can. Jump as high as you can. Give me everything you got and land on the box.
Right.
The height of the box means nothing. You're just looking at it. Just jump as high as you can. You make it or you don't.
Yeah.
You're thinking. Don't think.
Yeah.
So yeah. That is big, man. We see it all in here, honestly.
Yeah.
You see it all. Kids come in with everything. Confidence, bad days at school, relationships. I mean, you're a trainer, but you're kind of a psychiatrist. You're
That's
kind
what I was
of
gonna say, yeah.
Because
Because it's real easy to build relationships, like the kids, and especially as you turn into some almost I want to say like a mentor to them.
100%.
So you turn into that mentor, and there's somebody that they can look to, and it almost like just have those conversations and not feel any pressure of, they're going to give me the realest answer usually.
Yeah.
And then that's what also I feel like makes a good trainer. It may not be exactly what you felt like you were getting into as a trainer, but I feel like all the trainers know by the end, like that's what makes them love it a little bit more too, is being able to, I'm sure there's times where you're like, all right, listen, we only got an hour, so like you can talk,
yes.
but like we got to work out in between.
Yeah, it can be tricky. That's exactly right. That's like when you're looking at it like at a, what's it called, granular level. Like, yes, it can be kind of tricky to balance. Like, we end up talking a lot during our rest times, and it's easy to let the rest times go long and stuff like that. But yeah, you're always juggling. Okay, what's more important? Am I trying to stick to this rest and get through all these exercises, or is this mental block they're having gonna cause the workout to be at a lower intensity in general? So then you're trying to evaluate. You're like, I'm weighing this value over here, and then so yeah, it can be tricky, but the mentor side is big. We get Christmas gifts, handwritten cards, handwritten notes, and invites to different events and inductees into certain things, and it's just it's heartwarming for sure. You get called out on social media and stuff like that. It's nice to see, and because it's weird, man, because you're there, you're 3:30, and you're there everything, right?
Yeah.
It's like, you got to change personalities every hour, so you don't forget about them, but you do owe the next person your 100%,
right?
So you have to turn that off,
right?
But they leave and they're just like, oh man, I had a great day with Brandon today.
Yep.
Changed my whole day, changed my week, changed my month, changed my life, and it's like, you might not have thought much about it.
No.
You might have, but you also might not have. And it's cool to see when they come back to you. And they write this card, and it's like written by the kid, and it's mailed to you. And I have a huge box at my house that just with everything I've ever gotten.
Really?
Oh man. And I run across it every once in a while when I'm going through the closet and stuff like that, and I'm just like, this is a good box.
It's almost like a little reminder of like, this is why I do what I do.
This is why. Because the why, I don't care what's going on. Your why is what you fall back on. And sometimes, if you're in a weird slump or whatever, you look at some of these things and you're just like, I do have it. This is where I'm supposed to be. This is my purpose, my passion, my whatever. Yeah, you're calling it, and you see that kind of stuff, and it gives you that little reassurance that you might need for sure. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we could sit here and probably talk for hours on it, but I want to kind of slide into, the final segments of the podcast. I do have a question that I don't tell any of my guests about, but I have a question that I like to ask them all, and it is, if you could go back in time and tell your 16-year-old self one thing, what would it be?
Oh, man. Funny first answer would be play football. Don't run track, play football. I should be taking Nick Chubb spot here. But, oh, man, 16-year-old self, if I had to go back. That's good stuff.
This is the normal response. So, like, it is very tough for people to come up with it. And that's why I also don't tell people about it. I don't want them to, think about it. I want it to be, like, the first thing that kind of comes to mind.
Yeah, no, that's good, man. I mean, that's really good. Just because there's I try not to live too much in the past, but if I had to pick one thing that I would tell myself would be oh, that's good. Probably belief. I would tell myself that what you believe is what it is. I think I would probably tell myself to focus on what you believe things are and double down on that. Like, if you believe you are the best in the world at this, do it like you are, because then I think self-fulfilling prophecy, like, you'll become that because you think that. So I would tell myself to, because I think you have some doubts, you have some back and forth. I would say I would tell myself to believe in whatever your thoughts are, because whatever you believe is what you perceive, and what you perceive is reality.
Mm-hmm.
So I would make that connection in creating my own reality early on, because I think you kind of get wrapped up in other people's and what the world tells you things are, instead of as I've grown, I've started living more in my own head and really, really be my own biggest cheerleader.
Right.
And I think I would start that process earlier. I say belief because I think that leads me to self-investment.
Yeah.
I think that leads me to, investing in myself, doing more things to hone my skills, and more things that are personal investments to help me grow into whatever path I went into, things that are exponentially helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, it's real easy as a 16-year-old, especially, that high school style, to kind of worry about what everybody else thinks and, truly believe of what they think is the reality of it.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times were people told no? Like, every successful entrepreneur or, artist or athlete, at some point in their career, they were probably told, you're not good enough, no. And if they'd have believed it to be reality, then they wouldn't be where they're at. Now, we all have those moments in our life where, somebody says something and it does hit you a little bit, and you do start to maybe second guess or question things a little bit, but it is that point of when we get in our lives, and I'm working on getting there as well, and I'm not great at it, but I've stopped worrying so much about what other people think.
Yeah.
And like the videography, when I first started it, I was so petrified to post any of it on social media, because it's like I know what I think of it.
Yep.
But it's also looking at it now is like watching my progression in it and seeing it get a little bit better, and just and it's me going, it's not the best in the world, but it's getting there, and it's believing in myself. If I'm not going to be the best right now, but I'm going to get there eventually.
You believe you'll get there.
Yes, and that I like that. I wish, and that's something that, whether we hear it at 16 or we hear it at 26, it still hits home the same way, and it's never too late to start believing in yourself.
Ever.
So, and I like that. That's good. But Brandon, thank you for coming on the podcast, man. I appreciate it. It's been a long one in the work, but we finally got it in. We'll probably have to do another one at some point, because I want to dive into more. But where can people find you and find your gym on social media and everything like that?
Yeah, man. So trainforfreedom.com. and Train for Freedom and Train for Freedom Performance Center on social media, and that's the number 4 and all that. So, the number 4 and all that, and TikTok as well, Train for Freedom. But yeah, we're going to be releasing a lot of stuff, so everything's always changed. So yeah, just keep an eye on everything. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and the website. It's all coming along. And then I'm the number 4, freedom on Instagram. So
I will have all the links to that in the episode description as well. And
Boom.
so if you guys are in the area and need somewhere to train or need a trainer, definitely recommend it.
and if you're not in the area, we
Yeah.
got our own app out there, man.
That's
We're
true,
getting
yeah.
online going.
Yeah. So, but you guys know the deal. Until Monday, that's all we got for today. Until Monday, life is hard and is going to knock you down just like a bull does to a bull rider. Don't let that bull of life walk all over you. Get up, grab the bull by the horns, and take control of your life. Roughnecks out.